Nice that you're watching a new video from AutoRAI.nl. My name is Bart, and today we're putting these Kia Picantos in the spotlight. Why? The reason is very simple. The Kia Picanto is of course a very familiar sight in the Dutch streets. And now there's a completely new Kia Picanto. That's this car. And in this video we compare the older Kia Picanto with this car. The differences are quite significant, but on the other hand, they're also not. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how it all works. Alright, let's start with this somewhat older Kia Picanto. First of all, it's important to mention that it's really good news that Kia is still committed to the A segment, because a lot of car manufacturers are saying goodbye to that segment. Costs are under pressure, and so it's becoming increasingly difficult for car manufacturers to bring a car to market that they can actually make a profit on. Kia firmly believes that this Picanto can achieve that, but this example from 2018 is a bit different compared to the Kia Picanto from 2024, which will also be discussed later in this video. Because this specific example is a variant with a 1-liter TGDI, and that's a 3-cylinder turbo engine good for 100 HP and no less than 171 Nm of torque, and you can really feel that in everything. This is definitely the significantly faster car compared to the new Kia Picanto. For example, going from 0 to 100 only takes 10 seconds versus about 15 seconds for that variant with the 63 HP naturally aspirated 3-cylinder. So this is really quite a feisty little car. You could almost call it a sort of light hot hatchback. By the way, there is also a variant of the Hyundai i10 with this engine. So a 1-liter TDI with 100 HP. Those two are of course sister models to each other. By the way, know that there is also a chip available for this 1-liter TGDI that can even increase the power to 140 HP. And then you really have a seriously fast car. This 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine is, by the way, paired with a manual 5-speed gearbox. That's also a similarity with the 63 HP Picanto from 2024. But overall, this car, even though it's a bit older, as mentioned, this car is from 2018. Actually, the differences are really minimal. Of course, the infotainment system is from a few generations back. You don't notice that at all because it still responds very quickly to touches and input. And in front of you, there's no digital instrument cluster, but just an analog gauge setup with a simple onboard computer in between. It's all quite manageable, but as a GT line, you really have all the comforts. Think of things like steering wheel heating, seat heating, both for me as the driver. As for the passenger, and the adjustability of the steering column is identical to that Picanto from 2024. And the seats, yes, nothing has really changed there. This red car does have that nice black and red leather upholstery. It's really cool to see, while that newer Picanto from 2024 has different colors, the foundation is still exactly the same as that previous car. But when you drive this car, you do notice some differences compared to the new Picanto, because the trunk space of this car from 2018 is, to be honest, better. This car actually has a double trunk floor, an adjustable floor that you can play with the height, of course. That's a different story with the new Picanto. That's just a more basic trunk space. So Kia has really managed to save some costs there. It is, of course, it's really a shame that this 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine is no longer available in the Netherlands, because this is honestly a very zippy little car. But the reason is actually very simple. This car, at least this engine variant, simply no longer meets the Euro 6 and Euro 7 standards that are coming up, and so this engine had to be removed from the price list. Moreover, the CO2 emissions would also be far too unfavorable, which also results in a hefty amount of BPM tax. The new price of this car in 2018 is very interesting, because the GT line, the absolute top version of the Picanto lineup, this car cost 19,000 euros new in 2018. While now, you pay almost 25,000 euros for a Picanto GT line, the top version with all the bells and whistles. while this car is now worth around 13,000 euros, about half of a new Kia Picanto. And that's obviously a lot of money, almost a 12,000 euro difference in price. While, to be completely honest, this is the more fun engine variant. And even though this engine variant may be the more fun drivetrain, there are of course more than enough reasons to opt for a new Kia Picanto. I'll explain what those are when we take a drive in the new Picanto. So as far as I'm concerned, it's time to switch over to the new Picanto, and then we'll continue the story there. Are you coming along for the ride? In principle, this is actually quite an interesting comparison, because we're putting an older GT line next to a completely new GT line. And what stands out? Well, both cars actually offer a similar driving experience. So, the GT line feels very mature, it sits nicely on the road, and it also provides a lot of steering feel. There's a lot of feedback coming from the steering of both models. But you can really notice with this new Picanto GT line that it has a bit less power. And that's quite logical because we're comparing 100 horsepower with an output of 63 horsepower. In both cases, you actually get a manual 5-speed gearbox, and the shifting feel is, in a certain way, just a bit better than with the previous, or rather, the older Kia Picanto GT line. In both cases, it's actually good. But what you mainly notice is that this little engine, the 1-liter DPI 3-cylinder without a turbo, has to work a bit harder. So you'll have to downshift a bit more often when overtaking. She shifts down to 4th or even 3rd gear, for example. Actually, the little engine only comes to life at around 3,000 RPM. We're going full throttle now. Well, then you see that RPM, it takes an extremely long time for that little engine to come to life. So just downshift, ideally just one more gear. Keep it above 3,000 RPM. Look, and then there's just a lot more momentum. And it's actually quite enjoyable to live with a car that has only 63 horsepower. And that combined with a car that really has excellent road handling means you can still have quite a bit of fun in this car. It not only looks sporty, but it also really drives sportily. And the nice thing about such an atmospheric engine is that you can really let that power work to gain some speed. Nice to step on the gas, it also sounds really sporty. Look, and then it really is fun to drive, and it actually moves forward quite well. Of course, the 100 horsepower Kia Picanto 1-liter TGDI is much more fun, much faster, and has a lot more torque down low. But looking ahead to 2024, it's really quite enjoyable to live with this little engine. The average fuel consumption is really very favorable with this engine. For example, we drove a route of 130 kilometers and noted, and I'll show the proof on screen, an average fuel consumption of just 4.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So it's definitely much more fuel efficient than that 1-liter TGDI. It's also quite logical, of course, because of the lower power. And that means that with a fuel tank of about 35 liters, you can still cover some really nice distances with this Kia Picanto. That's actually not a punishment at all, because it feels very mature. But we have to admit one thing, and that is that the differences compared to the previous Picanto, or at least the model we're showing in this video, aren't very significant with this new Picanto. The dashboard layout is still largely the same. The material used, even the top layer of the dashboard, is still made of hard plastic. You only look out at a digital instrument cluster, a revamped infotainment system, and of course a new steering wheel with some extra buttons, including a favorite button, AI star button. And under that favorite button, you can set it to go directly to the driving assistance systems, because this Kia Picanto has received that as well. Extra driving assistance systems. That might be good news in the eyes of some people. Personally, it doesn't make me very happy. Of course, that's part of new cars. But yes, a lane assist, a speed warning, it's all there. And they really do make their presence known regularly. Do you want to turn that off? Very simple. Press the favorite button, in this case the star button, and you go straight to the menu to, for example, turn off that speed warning. Very easy. And the lane assist has a button on the steering wheel on the right side. Just hold it down and you'll be free from that too. And then you actually have a car that is calm to handle. Even though you get a notification from this car every 10 minutes that you need to take a break, even when you're just cruising calmly on the highway, you keep getting a notification that you need to take a break. Perhaps Kia can do something about that. But yes, it's a very mature car, and that's not just true for this 2024 model, but also for that car from 2018. It's really up to you to choose which engine variant you prefer. 63 horsepower or 100 horsepower, that's completely up to you. And it's really mostly a matter of money, because the car we're driving costs no less than 25,000 euros. Let's let that sink in for a moment. So the big question is, should you upgrade or not? Of course, a new Kia Picanto comes with a 7-year warranty, and it may look a bit more modern and be equipped with the latest technologies, but on the other hand, that used Kia Picanto is also very interesting because it is almost half the price. 13,000 versus 25,000 euros, and also a comparison of 63 horsepower for the new one versus 100 horsepower for this 1-liter TGDI. It's a bit of a dilemma, of course, and I'm also very curious what you would do, so definitely let us know in the comments below this video. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a well-known thumbs up. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. For now, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video. Hi hi! Music playing softly. Music.